So hello everyone and welcome back to another very important video session from your own channel Let's Crack NEET UG English. My name is Vipin Kumar Sharma and I am your biology mentor. In this particular video we are going to start a really important chapter from examinations point of view, that is human reproduction. This year also two questions were asked from this particular chapter directly. So this chapter is going to give you 2 into 4, that is 8 marks directly in your NEET 2021 entrance examination. So it becomes very critical for us to understand each and every point related to this chapter. Also, our batch is going to launch on 21st September. So your wait is finally over. For the student of 2021 and 2022 NEET, the wait is finally over. You are asking me that when your batch is going to start. So our batch is going to start on 21st of September. The course is live. You just need to search Vipin Kumar Sharma on Unacademy's learning app and you will find my course over there. So guys, these are some important credentials of mine. You can have a look if you want. Otherwise, let's proceed towards the lecture. You can also get connected to us via Unacademy's learning app. This app is freely available on Google Play Store. You just have to install this app on your device, that is your mobile phone or your tablet. And after that, you need to go to the NEET UG section. It is the exam for which you are preparing, for which you are giving your sweat, blood and fire. And after going to the NEET UG category, you need to click on get subscription so that you can purchase the Unacademy NEET Plus subscription. So these are some subscription packages starting from 1 month to 24 month, that is from 1 month to 2 years. There are variety of packs with variety of prices. But let me recommend you the best packs over here. The best packs are the packages of 1 year and 2 year respectively. Why? Because they are comparatively cheaper and more affordable. If you will talk about the monthly fees of 1 month subscription, it is around 5,400 rupees. But if you talk about the monthly fees or monthly charges of a 24-month subscription, it is only 1,300 rupees. So there is a wide difference between 5,400 and 1,350 rupees. The cost of a 2-year package is around 4 to 5 times lesser than a 1 month pack. So obviously it becomes really important for you guys to have this pack. Plus after 10 days, the Unacademy is going to hike its prices. It means that if you are preparing for NEET 2021 and if you want to take 1 year subscription, if you are preparing for NEET 2022 and if you want to take 2 year subscription, please take it within 10 days, because after 10 days the price is going to hike and there will be around 50 to 60% more charges on those subscription. For example, if you will apply code VIPIN, you will get 10% instant discount on your subscription. So here you will be getting this subscription for 27,000 rupees only, 1 year subscription. But after 10 days, it will be around 40,000 rupees. And here it is 32,400 rupees. But after 10 days, it will be much more than that. You need to pay at least 10 to 15,000 more rupees just in a time of 10 to 15 days. So please make sure to get subscription as soon as possible. To get the maximum discount, please avail the discount by utilizing the code VIPIN. Okay, to enroll in my batch and to watch all the videos of 40 plus top educators of India, you can utilize the same code, that is VIPIN, which is going to give you instant discount on all your subscription packages starting from foundation to UPSC. This course is available for all the different things. Now what you are going to get in the Unacademy's Plus subscription, you will be getting live classes on daily basis. For example, if you want to read physics, chemistry and biology, then on daily basis you can get those live classes. Plus there will be live tests and quizzes and you will be getting your ranks on daily basis also. It means that let's say if you have started with 500 rank, how much you have improved in 1 week, how much you have improved in 2 weeks, that data is going to be with you. Okay, so it becomes really important for you guys to understand the importance of regular ranks, regular tests and regular sessions. So we are going to complete your syllabus with the help of structured courses. As I am starting my syllabus, as I am starting my course with the cell biology, so I'll be covering the whole cell biology in this month only with the help of my brilliant notes. And we are going to do a lot of practice questions as well, so that you can prepare for your examination in a better way. And you will be getting unlimited access to the courses. If you want to watch any of my video for more than 10 times, you can do that. If you want to see any video for more than 20 times, you can do that. There is no upper limit. You can watch as many as lectures possible. You can watch as many times as possible. There is no upper limit on Unacademy Plus subscription, which is the best part. And you can choose your own teachers on your own. Okay, you can chose the best teachers possible which suits you so that you can prepare for the examination in a better way. So this is the template of my new course that is going to start from September 21, 8 a.m. in the morning. This is a course on cell structure and function where we will be covering 3 different chapters. The chapter first is cell, the basic unit of life, then the biomolecules, and then the third one is going to be cell cycle and cell division. So this lecture series is gonna be very helpful, and it is gonna be very important for you guys to complete your NEET syllabus. So please make sure to use the code VIPIN to take Unacademy's Plus subscription and to join my course as soon as possible, as it is starting from September 21. You really have less time, right? Okay. So let's talk about the human reproduction. We will be talking about the NCERT, plus we will be talking about some extra facts that I have already noted over here. For example, there are some facts which are noted over here with the help of pen. There are much more topics that I have noted down with the help of pen so that you can supplement your knowledge from NCERT. It means that we are going to complete the 100% NCERT one word by word, line by line, and after doing the NCERT we can also track the most important points or the most important concepts from the extra edge NCERT points and concepts. Okay, so let's start this lecture and let's start the human reproduction right now. As you are aware that humans are sexually reproducing organisms and we are viviparous. So firstly we need to understand this line. The reproduction is of 2 different types. The reproduction is of 2 different types. The first kind of reproduction where only single parent is involved, it is called as asexual reproduction. And in asexual reproduction, no variations are introduced. There are no variations introduced. Why? Because variations needs crossing over or recombination. Variation needs crossing over, recombination or mutation. That crossing over doesn't happen in case of asexual reproduction. So overall, the parent and the progeny are going to be exactly 100% same in case of asexual reproduction. For example, let's say it is a cell. Okay, if this cell is giving rise to 2 daughter cells, if this cell is getting divided and if it is giving rise to 2 daughter cells, then those 2 daughter cells will be 100% similar to each other and they will be 100% similar to their parents also. Plus, let's say there is a plant. If there is a plant, then this plant will be giving rise to more plants. Okay, so this plant, if it is reproducing asexually, then both of these plants will be called as clones. They will be 100% similar to each other. The parent and the progeny is going to be 100% similar, whether it is morphology or it is the genetic material. They are going to be exactly same in nature. They are going to be exactly same. Alright, this is very important. The second type of reproduction is called as sexual reproduction. And what happens in sexual reproduction is two different parents are involved in this type of reproductive event. So there is one male who contributes the sperm and there is a female who contributes the ovum. So when this sperm and ovum fuses with each other, they used to form a diploid zygote. So what is this diploid zygote having? This diploid zygote is having one set of chromosome from the male and it is also having one set of chromosome from the female. So ultimately what we can suggest is, we can suggest that this particular zygote is having the character of both male and female. It means that it do have the variations. Such kind of reproduction is really important to introduce new characters, to introduce the variation in the new individual. So that's why sexual reproduction is more better as compared to asexual reproduction. Then there is second thing which is shown over here, that is vivipary. So viviparous are the organisms that basically give rise to the young one. They directly give birth to the young one. If you will talk about some primitive organisms, they have the eggs. They have the eggs. And some advanced organisms as well. For example, birds, which are very advanced, but they still lay eggs. They still lay eggs. And in fact, some sort of mammals also. There is an exception in mammals, that is Ornithorhynchus. It is asked in NEET for a lot of times. Ornithorhynchus is a mammal that used to lay eggs. So these egg laying organisms are called as oviparous. If they are laying eggs, they are called as oviparous. But if they are not laying eggs, they are directly giving birth to young ones, as in case of human beings, the baby takes birth from the mother womb. Okay, in mother womb or the mother uterus, it will be developing. The fetal development takes place, the embryonic development takes place, and after that it will be taken out with the help of parturition process or the delivery process, which is the common name that you usually use in your daily life. The delivery process is the process by which baby is taken out of the mother's womb, okay, via the birth canal. So the reproductive events in human includes the formation of gamete. I have already made gametes over here. This was the sperm and this was the ovum. So what were they? They were the gametes, and those gametes will be getting fused to form the diploid zygote. So ultimately what is happening over here, for the formation of zygote, you need to keep the gametes at a close proximity. You need to keep those gametes close to each other so that they can fuse. But before keeping them together, before just letting them come close to each other, it becomes really important to form that gamete. So the genesis of gamete or the formation of gamete is ultimately called as the gametogenesis. Genesis means generation and gameto means gamete. So the haploid gamete are formed, that is sperm in males and the ovum or egg in females are formed by the processes called as spermatogenesis and oogenesis respectively. Since the sperm is getting formed in male, so it will be spermatogenesis process, and since the ovum is getting formed in female, it is called as oogenesis process. After that, the sperms are getting transferred to the female genital tract. So the sperms need to be inseminated into the female's body. So this particular process is called as insemination. The release of sperm is called as what? There is a very important term. It is called as ejaculation. When the sperms comes out of the male body, it is called as ejaculation. And when those sperms enter into the female body, it is called as insemination. So these are very, very critical points to understand. Ejaculation is when the sperms comes out of the male body, and insemination is the particular process where the sperms enter into the female genital tract, and over there the fusion of male and female gamete takes place, that is called as fertilization, or the fusion of male and female gamete that forms the diploid zygote. So there are three important topics that we have heard of right now, that is gametogenesis, where the sperm is formed by spermatogenesis process, the ovum is formed by oogenesis process. So these are the gametes. Now these gametes are going to be transferred. For example, the sperm is getting transferred into the female genital tract, so it is called as insemination. After that, when they get close to each other, they basically fuse to form a diploid zygote. So this zygote formation is the result of fertilization process. After that, this zygote used to divide itself, it used to form a lot of cells, it used to show the division or the mitotic division. So this is followed by formation and development of blastocyst and its attachment to the uterine wall called as implantation. If there is a single cell zygote, that single cell will be forming 2 cells, then 4 cells, then 8 cells. Since it is dividing by mitosis, it is dividing by mitosis, which is equational division. So all the cells are going to be same in nature, and one cell in mitosis give rise to 2 cells. So one cell will be forming 2 cells, 2 cells will be forming 4 cells, then 8 cells, then 16 cells, then 32, then 64, then 128, 256 and so on. So after each division, the number of cells is going to be duplicated. The number of cells will be doubled after each and every division. So it will lead to the formation of a blastocyst. Okay, when there are 16, 32 stages, cells in a particular stage are there, they used to go to the uterus and they used to get embedded in the uterine wall, that is called as implantation. So the uterine wall will be carrying that particular blastocyst embedded into it. This process is called as implantation, so that the development of embryo can take place in the uterus itself. Then the embryonic development is further taking place. It is called as gestation period or the gestation period. Gestation simply means the development of embryo. Let's say this is the uterine wall, this is the endometrium. So this uterine wall will be having the blastocyst attached to it. Now this blastocyst will be dividing, it is getting bigger so that it can form the whole parts of a baby, so that it could be delivered and it could survive as an individual. So that is called as the gestatory period. And after that, the delivery also occurs, by which the baby is just taken out through the birth canal and it can survive as an individual. It is called as parturition process, or it is called as the delivery process. Okay, so you must have seen that there is a cord that basically connects the baby to the mother. That cord is called as umbilical cord, and that umbilical cord is basically, just chopped when, okay, it's umbilical cord. Okay, it is just chopped when the delivery of a baby is done. So it is basically chopped, and after that there is a clip which is attached so that there will be no more blood loss. All right, so it becomes really important for you to understand that there is a connection between baby and mother, due to which the nourishment or the nutrition could come from mother to the baby, and the excretory products can go from baby to the maternal blood so that it could be excreted out. Okay, so that is also done by a functional link that is called as placenta. So placenta used to nourish the baby, the developing embryo, and it used to take up the excretory material and carbon dioxide from the baby. All right, so these events occurs after puberty. After you attain a particular age, that is puberty, all these important things used to take place inside your body. For example, the sperm development doesn't start as early as you think. It starts after attainment of a particular age. After 14-15 years, the sperm development used to start, and you are now capable enough to reproduce sexually, but that is not the correct age to do that. But your processes basically starts at the time of puberty. There will be a lot of characters that develops in your body, and those characters are different in male and female also. These are called as secondary sexual characters. When you become an adult, okay, then there will be a lot of changes in your body. In case of male, the voice will become low pitched voice, it will be become heavier voice. And in case of females, there will be opposite, that their voice will become high pitched voice, and they can basically speak in a better way because their voice is more audible as compared to that of a man. In male or female, in both of the cases, there will be the development of hairs in armpits. There will be the development of beard and mustache in case of male. Okay, there will be development of beard, and after that the pubic hairs also used to develop. The external genitalia or the reproductive organs also used to mature. The gamete formation used to take place actively, and after that your body posture also becomes a little bit modified. In case of man, you become more masculine, but in case of female, there will be more feminine characters. There is development of hip, there is development of breast. Those are some characters which are associated with the female, and similarly there are some important characters which are associated with the male, and all these characters are just taking place with the help of some important hormones. For example, in male, there is testosterone, there are androgens which used to help in the development of these kind of secondary characters. But in case of female, there is estrogen, there is estradiol, there is progesterone which helps in the development of female secondary sex characters. Alright, so we are going to talk about each and everything in detail in this particular chapter. This chapter is really gonna be interesting because it is totally conceptual. You do not need to read a lot of stuff. NCERT is more than important, more than sufficient, but I'll be letting you know about some more facts so that you can grasp them and you can implement them in your examination also. So there are remarkable differences between the reproductive events of male and female. For example, if you will be talking about the male and female secondary sexual characters, then they are totally different. They are entirely different. Okay, in some of the cases it is same. For example, the development of armpit hairs, okay, the development of pubic hairs, these are same, but the body musculature development is kind of different. Okay, so in men, the sperm development or the sperm formation takes place even in old men. If there is a man who is of 65 age or 70 age, the sperm formation can still take place. But in case of female, there will be menopause. Okay, when the egg formation starts in a female, that is called as menarche. Okay, that is called as menarche, when the first egg is formed, and after 50 years there will be menopause. Okay, menopause means now the egg development or the egg formation has stopped in case of female. So a male can reproduce for a greater age, but in case of females, the menopause used to take place around 50 years, after which there will be no formation of eggs. The testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity within a pouch called as scrotum. It means that in this particular article we are going to talk about the male reproductive system. So the testes are the primary sex organs. Testes are the primary sex organs, as I have already told you over here, as it is already written. The testes are primary sex organ in case of males, and the ovary is primary sex organ in case of female. Why they are called as primary sex organ? Because primary sex organ used to give rise to the gamete. It means that in testis the sperm is going to be produced, and in ovary the ovum is going to be produced. That's why they are called as primary sex organs, as well as they used to give rise to the hormones related to a particular sex. For example, in case of males, there will be androgens, there will be androgens, there will be testosterone, in case of female, there will be estrogen, there will be progesterone, there will be estradiol. So all these kind of things, all these kind of hormones are also going to be produced by what? By the primary sex organs. So these are very important organs. Okay, very important organs, because they usually give rise to the gamete, which are important for the fertilization process, and they also give rise to the hormone that are very helpful in the development of secondary sex characters. Secondary sex characters can only be developed if there is proper hormonal regulation and proper hormonal balance, and that hormone secretion takes place by the primary sex organ. Other than that, there are other organs which are called as secondary sex organs. So what are secondary sex organs? The definition is very simple. The organs that do not take place in the formation of gamete or in the formation of critical hormones, they are called as secondary sex organs, as simple as that, right? So testis is the primary sex organ in case of male, which is situated outside the abdominal cavity in the pouch is called as scrotum. Okay, so scrotum is a muscular pouch basically, which is covered by skin. So in that scrotum the testis is present like this. Okay, so testis is present outside the abdominal cavity. If you will have a look at the abdomen, if this is the abdomen of a male, then outside that abdomen there will be a testis which is descended like this. Okay, this is the testis, this is the scrotum, let's say. Okay, and in that scrotum the testis will be present like this on both the sides. Okay, so let's say this is the belly of a particular human. So after that, this is gonna be the first scrotum. On second side there will be second scrotum, and this will be the penis. Okay, this will be the penis. So this kind of arrangement you can basically see, or you can basically observe in the male. Okay, this kind of arrangement. So this is the dorsal side of the body, this is the back side, and this is the front side where such kind of scrotums are present. So two scrotums are present, so inside them two testes are going to be present, and this is the external genitalia of male reproductive system, which is called as penis. So it is written as penis, but it is called as penis. It is the correct pronunciation. Penis is the correct pronunciation, right? So this is the basic character that you need to note over here. So why they are present outside the abdominal cavity? What was the difference that has been created when they descended from the abdominal cavity? In the abdominal cavity, the temperature is quite high, but for spermatogenesis or for the formation of sperm, the testes require lower temperature. So for that lower temperature, it used to descend in the scrotum so that it can keep the lower temperature. So 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower temperature is maintained, which is very necessary for spermatogenesis. Spermato, sperm word is coming. Genesis means formation. It means that the process which is helpful in formation of sperm, that particular process can take place only when the temperature is 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than normal body temperature, and that could only be maintained when there is descendance of the testis inside the scrotum. So in adult, the testis is oval in shape. If you will make the diagram of testis, it is oval in shape. So what are the dimensions of testis? The dimensions of testis are 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 to 3 centimeter is its width. So it is 2 to 3 centimeter, and 4, 5, that is its length. So 2, 3, 4, 5 is a very simple trick. These are the numbers in a particular order. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 2 to 3 centimeter is its width, and 4 to 5 centimeter is its length. So that is very critical to understand that what are the dimensions of a particular testis. And it is covered by a dense covering. It is covered by a dense covering which we can make like this. Okay, let's take the highlighter. So this testis is covered by a dense covering like this. And what is this dense covering is called? The dense covering is the covering of a testis itself, which is called as tunica albuginea. It is called as tunica albuginea. So you can just write it in your NCERT, tunica albuginea. It's very important. Okay, tunica albuginea. Right. So each testis has 250 compartments which are called as testicular lobule, and inside each lobule there is 1 to 3 seminiferous tubule, and inside those seminiferous tubule the sperm formation takes place. So let's talk about the important thing in this particular slide. But before that, let me tell you about the cryptorchidism. Here there is a word which I have highlighted with yellow color as it is very very important from examinations point of view. Cryptorchidism is a diseased state. Is a diseased state. During embryonic development, the gestation period is of 9 months in case of human beings. In the seventh month of the gestation period, the testes used to descend in the scrotum. Okay, let's say these are the testes which are present in abdominal cavity. In the 7th month of the gestation period, they will be descending down inside the scrotum, which is the pouch-like structure, so that they can, basically take their shape, or they can basically go to their conditional place. But in the cryptorchidism state, the testes do not descend in the scrotum in the 7th month of embryonic development. In the 7th month, the testes do not descend in the scrotum. So this is a disease state. Okay, this is a disease state. There are some organisms where the testes are not descended in the scrotum at all. They are present in the abdominal cavity itself. For example, Ornithorhynchus. What is Ornithorhynchus? I have already told you guys that this Ornithorhynchus is an oviparous mammal. This is also an very good example of the organisms where the testes are present in the abdominal cavity only. For example, in elephant also. In elephant, the testes are present in the abdominal cavity only. But there are some organisms which are seasonal breeders. So when their breeding season is there, they will descend their testes into scrotum and they will start reproducing. They will start formation. They will start the formation of sperm. But if they are not having the season in which they basically breed, then they will not be descending their testes into the scrotum, and they will not be showing any spermatogenesis process at that particular point of time. So for example, bat and otter, they are very very important. You need to understand the bat only. It is a seasonal breeder, so there will be seasonal descent of testes into the scrotum. When there will be season of the breeding, when there will be breeding season, then only the testes will descend into the scrotum, as in case of bat. Okay, so let's make a testis over here. So let's say this is a testis. In testis there are around 250 compartments which are called as what? Which are called as testicular lobules. So there are more than 250 compartments that are called as testicular lobules, and in those lobules there are 1 to 3 seminiferous tubule. So each testicular lobule is going to contain 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubule where the sperms are produced. It means that this particular region, okay, I am highlighting this one, this particular region, that is the testicular lobule, will be having 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubule like this. Okay, they will be having highly coiled seminiferous tubule where the sperm is produced, where the sperm production usually takes place. Okay, in which the sperms are produced. Each seminiferous tubule is lined on its inside by two different type of cells called as male germ cell and the Sertoli cell. It means that inside that inside this seminiferous tubule, there are two different type of cell. The very first type of cell inside the seminiferous tubule is what? It is the male germ cell or the spermatogonia. Spermatogonia are the cells that are going to develop and they are going to form the sperm. And the second cell is called as the Sertoli cell. And those Sertoli cell are going to do what? These Sertoli cell are called as nurse cell that will be developing, or that will be nourishing the developing spermatogonia. Okay, that will be providing the nutrition to the developing spermatogonia. They will be providing nutrition to the developing spermatogonia. Alright. So the male germ cell undergo meiotic division, finally leading to the sperm formation. So this spermatogonia is what? This spermatogonia is diploid in nature. So this diploid spermatogonia is going to form what? It is going to form the haploid sperm or the haploid gamete, because gametes are always haploid. When you need to convert a diploid cell into a haploid cell, it could only be done with the help of meiosis. What is the difference between meiosis and mitosis? The meiosis is a process where reductional division occurs. It means that at the end of meiosis, the chromosome number will become half. But in the mitosis, equational division takes place. If a cell is diploid, then the final cell is also going to be diploid. When a cell is haploid, the final cell is also going to be haploid. That happens in the case of mitosis. Which is called as equational division. It is equational division because the resultant cells are exactly same. But here it is reductional division, as the number of chromosome is reducing to half, is becoming half. Let's say there is a tetraploid cell, and if you want to do meiosis, then it will give rise to a diploid cell. So the number of chromosome becomes half. That's why it is called as a reductional division. So this is the work of spermatogonia, which is the male germ cell. What does the Sertoli cell do? Sertoli cell provide nutrition to the germ cell so that it could be converted well in the sperms. So region outside the seminiferous tubule are called as interstitial spaces that contains blood vessels and the Leydig cell or the interstitial cell. And the function of this Leydig cell is the synthesis and secretion of testicular hormone, which are called as androgens, where some immunological competent cells are also present. So this could only be understood if you are going to go through a diagram, which is very, very important from examinations point of view. This is a diagram of seminiferous tubule given in NCERT. This is the diagram of seminiferous tubule given in NCERT. So what can you see in this particular diagram is that this particular margin that you are looking over here, this margin, right? This margin. This is a particular seminiferous tubule. And this seminiferous tubule is going to have two type of cell inside it. Let me mark this with yellow so that you can differentiate it easily. Alright. So it will be having two different type of cells. The very first type of cell is the male germ cell, and the second important type of cell is going to be the Sertoli cell. Okay. So these are the spermatogonia. Which are going to form the sperm. So these are the active sperms, okay, which are formed. These sperms are scientifically called as the spermatozoa. So spermatozoa is nothing but it is the sperm itself. Spermatogonia is not the sperm. Spermatogonia is the male germ cell. That is diploid in nature. So this diploid cell is going to show the meiosis, and after meiosis it is going to form the sperm or the spermatozoa, which is haploid in nature. That is very important. Other than spermatogonia, what kind of cells are present in seminiferous tubule? It is the Sertoli cell. So these are some sort of cells which are giving nourishment to the developing spermatozoa or to the spermatogonia so that they can show active spermatogenesis. Now the region which is present outside this seminiferous tubule, which is marked with yellow color, the region which is present outside it will be, okay, the region which is present outside it will be called as the interstitial space that I am marking right now. Okay, this particular space that I am marking with blue right now, this is nothing but it is the interstitial space. All right, it is the interstitial space. All right. So in this interstitial space, what kind of cells are going to be present? If the name is suggesting it is interstitial space, so interstitial cells will be present over here, which are also called as the Leydig cell. So what is the importance of these Leydig cells? These Leydig cells are very, very critical to make the androgens, or they are going to produce the male sex hormones, and those male sex hormones will be called as what? Androgens, out of which the most promising one is testosterone. It is the most promising male sex hormone, right? So this is the diagram of a very, very important part that is called as the seminiferous tubule, so that you can understand each and everything in a better way. So inside seminiferous tubule there are two different type of cell. The very first is spermatogonia or male germ cell. The second one is Sertoli cell or the nurse cell. And in the interstitial spaces, interstitial cell or the Leydig cells are present that forms the androgens, that makes the testosterone. That is very, very critical and very, very important. All right. And other than that, some immunologically competent cells are also present at that particular place. So what are immunologically competent cells? The cells that can exaggerate the immune response. When there are some sort of pathogen coming in your body, the immune response needs to be activated. So what exhibits the activation of this immune response? The activation, and that is done by the pathogen. So the important cells are called as T cells and B cells, that usually forms the major part of your immune system. The B cells are going to give rise to the antibody, and the T cells will provide you the cell mediated immunity, that is called as CMI. Okay, so such kind of cells could also be present in the interstitial spaces. That is very important. So the Sertoli cells are called as nurse cells, as I have already told you guys. So these nurse cells have an important function of nurturing. These cells have an important function of nourishing the developing spermatozoa. But there are some more important functions which are not given in NCERT, that I have additional marked over here. They absorb the parts shed by the developing spermatozoa. When the development of spermatozoa or the formation of sperms takes place, let's say this is a spermatid. So this spermatid used to get converted into what? Into spermatozoa. So there are some parts which are shed by this spermatid to be converted into spermatozoa. Those parts are absorbed by the Sertoli cell. Those parts are taken by the Sertoli cell and are utilized for their own metabolism, for their own reaction. Other than that, the Sertoli cell used to secrete the anti-Mullerian factor, or the AMF. The anti-Mullerian factor, it means that it is going to inhibit the Mullerian tube formation. It is going to inhibit the Mullerian tube formation or the Mullerian duct formation. So Mullerian factor, which forms the Mullerian tube or Mullerian duct, it is anti-Mullerian factor. So it will be inhibiting the development of Mullerian tube, because the Mullerian tube or the Mullerian duct used to form the fallopian tube in case of female. So if there will be no AMF, then the male will be converted into a female, or basically your Mullerian duct will be converted into the fallopian tube, which is an important part, which is an essential part for the transfer of ovum in case of female. If there will be fallopian tube, then the male will not be fertile and it will be converted into a female. So that's why the anti-Mullerian factor is important for the formation of a male. That is also synthesized by the Sertoli cell. It is very, very important from examinations point of view, not given in NCERT. Plus androgen binding protein. It means that there are some proteins which are binding to the androgens which are secreted by the interstitial cells. The androgen or the testosterone which are secreted by the Leydig cell, they need some proteins to become functional, so that androgen binding protein are also given by the Sertoli cell. So these are three essential functions, three accessory functions which are done by the Sertoli cells other than nourishing the spermatozoa. The male sex accessory ducts include rete testis. Okay, what are accessory ducts? Accessory ducts are the ducts through which the sperm is basically transferred from the place where they are synthesized to the place of action or to the place of ejaculation. So if they are synthesized in testis, if they are synthesized in seminiferous tubule, then they should be transferred to the urethra, or they should exit your body via urethral meatus, which is a pore-like structure. So before going to the urethral meatus, it need to travel a lot. So what is the path of sperm? It used to go through the rete testis, then it used to go through the vasa efferentia, then epididymis, then vas deferens, and then it opens through the ejaculatory duct into the urethral meatus. So seminiferous tubules of the testis open into the vasa efferentia through rete testis. So let's mark the important parts over here. So seminiferous tubule is the place where sperm formation takes place. So obviously we are going to start our journey from the seminiferous tubules only. From seminiferous tubule, it used to go to the rete testis. It used to go to the rete testis. From rete testis, it will be going through the vasa efferentia. It will be going to the vasa efferentia. From vasa efferentia, okay, which leaves the testis, basically it opens into epididymis. It opens into epididymis. Okay, very important. So here vasa efferentia used to leave the testis. Okay, this is the testicular part. It has left the testis, and after that it got open into the epididymis. And after that what happens basically is the epididymis is located in the posterior surface of the testis, that is the lower surface of the testis. The epididymis leads to vas deferens. Now it will be going to the vas deferens, and vas deferens is a very long tube that is ascending to the abdomen, and it will be looped over the abdomen, and it will be getting combined with the duct of seminiferous or seminal vesicle. Okay, it ascends to the abdomen and loops over the urinary bladder. I will be showing all these things to you in the diagram. So it will loop over the abdomen, it will coming to the urinary bladder, and it also receives a duct from seminal vesicle. Seminal vesicle, which is a very important gland in male reproductive system, that gives its duct and it opens into the urethra as a combined ejaculatory duct. So what is the function of these ducts? What is the function of these ducts? So firstly let's write ejaculatory duct over here. Ejaculatory duct, and after ejaculatory duct it will be opened through the urethral meatus. Urethral meatus. This is the pathway. This is the particular pathway. So these ducts used to store the sperm and used to transport the sperm from testis to outside through the urethra. The urethra originate from the urinary bladder and extend through the penis, and its external opening is called as urethral meatus, which I have already marked over here. So urethra basically starts from the urinary bladder itself, and the opening of that particular organ is called as urethral meatus, from which the sperms get outside the body. So what is the pathway? What is the pathway? The important pathway is seminiferous tubule, where the sperms are formed, then rete testis, after that vasa efferentia, after that epididymis, after that vas deferens, and after that ejaculatory duct, through which it goes to the urethra and opens through the urethral meatus. So vasa efferentia comes before the vas deferens, and rete testis comes just after the seminiferous tubule. You need to understand that very well. So what are the important paths? You need to understand that. So let's go through this particular thing. Okay, let's talk about the second diagram first, because here you can locate the path of sperm very easily. You can locate the path of sperm very easily. Let's say that your sperm is formed in the testis. This is the testis. This is testis number 1 and this is testis number 2. Okay, this is the testis which is shown over here. It is the primary sex organ in case of males. Okay, it is the primary sex organ, right? Okay, now in this testis there are testicular lobules. There are around 200 to 250 testicular lobules which are present over here like this. These are the lobe-like structures which are called as testicular lobules. Now inside those lobules there are highly coiled seminiferous tubule. So inside those lobules there will be highly coiled seminiferous tubule. There will be highly coiled seminiferous tubule. Okay, so the journey will start from this place, from seminiferous tubule. It will go to this particular place called as rete testis. It will go to the rete testis. Then it will go to the vasa efferentia, that is this particular place, vasa efferentia. Then it will go to epididymis, which is this particular place, epididymis. Okay, now it will go to a huge duct that is called as vas deferens. That vas deferens will loop over the abdomen, as I have already told you guys, and it will come at the upper part of urinary bladder. This is the urinary bladder. So it comes above the urinary bladder, right? This particular thing is called as the vas deferens. So that vas deferens comes over, loops over the abdomen, it comes over the urinary bladder, and this is the duct of vas deferens. This is the vas deferens basically. Now these are seminal vesicles. These are seminal vesicles. Okay, now these two seminal vesicles will give their ducts, and this vas deferens will also come over here. So there will be a combinative place over here that will be called as ejaculatory duct. This particular place will be called as what? This particular place will be called as ejaculatory duct. This particular duct will be going to the urethra and it will be opening through the urethral meatus. Alright, so these are the ureter, which are very important part of excretory system that comes from kidney and which basically go deep into the bladder. After that, this is the bladder over which the vas deferens loops. These are the seminal vesicle, which are first type of glands in case of male reproductive system. Then there are prostate glands which are present over here. Let me erase this one. Alright, let me erase this one so that we can understand The parts, all right. So this is what? This is the prostate gland. This is the prostate gland. And there are very tiny, very small bulbourethral glands which are present over here. These are the bulbourethral glands. Okay, this is the prostate which is shown over here. This is the prostate. All right, and these are the bulbourethral glands. Okay. Now this is the urethra where the ejaculatory duct basically open. Okay, and it used to open via this particular pore, and this is called as urethral meatus, as I have already suggested you the name. Okay, so this is the urethra which opens through the urethral meatus to the outside. Now this particular part of the penis which is enlarged, it is called as glans penis. Okay, let's erase some of the parts so that we can understand the glans penis as well. Okay, let's understand this. All right. Okay, so this particular part, okay, this is straight, but at the end it is bulged. Okay, it is bulged. So it is coming like this, it is coming like this, but at the end it becomes bulged. So this bulged portion or the enlarged portion is called as glans penis. It is called as glans penis, right? And it is covered with a fold of skin that is called as foreskin, or it is obviously called as prepuce. It is called as prepuce. So this is the first diagram of the male reproductive system, and the second diagram I am going to show just right now. So this is the glans penis. We know that very well. This is the glans penis, and this is the foreskin or prepuce that used to cover the glans penis. It is the prepuce, right? This is the urethra, okay, that opens through the urethral meatus, and it comes from what? It comes from this particular place. Now this is the penis, which is formed up of special type of erectile tissue. Now this is the prostate gland. These were the important glands called as seminal vesicle. So these are the seminal vesicle. This is the vas deferens that is making a loop over the abdominal cavity, and it is just getting itself attached to the duct of seminal vesicle. So it forms an ejaculatory duct. So the place where this vas deferens and seminal vesicle is fusing, it is called as ejaculatory duct. It is the urinary bladder, this large bladder which is shown over here. Then the seminal vesicle we already talked about, and it is the ureter that come from the excretory system. It comes from the kidney and it get into the urinary bladder. Okay, so this is the testis which is found in a pouch like structure called as scrotum. Very, very important. This is bulbourethral gland. These are bulbourethral gland. This is prostate gland, this one, and this is seminal vesicle. We already talked about this. This is rectum, which is a part of excretory system where food is temporarily stored, and after that the food is basically defecated by the anus. This is the place from where, this is the posterior opening in case of human alimentary canal, from which the undigested food material goes out of the body, right? It is very, very important. Now some extra point, that is gubernaculum, Dartow's muscle, cremaster muscle, and inguinal canal. So what is inguinal canal? First of all, inguinal canal is basically the canal by which the scrotum is attached to the pelvic cavity. For example, this is the scrotum. The scrotum is attached to the pelvic cavity. There is a connection between the scrotum and the pelvis that is done with the help of inguinal canal, where different kind of blood vessels, where different kind of nerves are present that used to connect the scrotum to the abdominal cavity or to the pelvic cavity. So you can write abdominal cavity here as well. You can write it as abdominal cavity. Okay, so this is called as inguinal canal that basically attaches. Okay, it is a oblique canal that basically connects the scrotum to the abdominal cavity. So there is a connection between scrotum and abdominal cavity. So there will be a canal at this particular place, and that canal will be coated with the help of some sort of fibrous tissue that form the spermatic cord. So there will be fibrous cord like structures called as gubernaculum that basically forms the structural framework and which helps in the formation of spermatic cord, okay, that basically surrounds the canal. And there will be some muscles that will be surrounding that particular inguinal canal called as cremaster muscle. So cremaster muscles and Dartow's muscles are present in the scrotum, and that particular scrotum, okay, let's try to understand this very, very clearly. Let's say this is the scrotum, this is scrotum, and this is, let's say, abdominal cavity or the pelvic cavity. So the thing that is attaching the scrotum to the abdominal cavity, this will be called as what? This will be called as the inguinal canal. This will be called as the inguinal canal. Okay, first point is done. After that, this inguinal canal is supported with the help of some sort of fibrous connective tissue over here. So this inguinal canal will be supported with some sort of important connective tissue and muscle that will be called as cremaster muscle. Because in this inguinal canal, the connection is present. It means that there will be some sort of blood vessels, there will be some sort of nerves. So cremaster muscle and some connective tissue will be giving the overall framework or overall protection to this inguinal canal. I hope this is clear. Now this testis is attached to the scrotum with the help of fibrous fold, that is gubernaculum. So gubernaculum is what? It is the fibrous cord-like structure which is present at this particular end, at the lower end of the scrotum. At lower end of scrotum, which I have shown in the blue color that I am highlighting right now with the green, that is the position of gubernaculum, which is the fibrous fold-like structure. Okay, it used to attach the caudal part of testis. Caudal part means the lower part of the testis. There is an anterior part, there is a posterior part. So caudal is present at the lower part, so it connects the caudal part of the testis to the scrotum. That is very important. So fibrous fold or fibrous cord like gubernaculum is going to be present. So inguinal canal is clear right now, that it connects the scrotum to the abdominal cavity or the pelvic cavity. After that, it will be covered with the cremaster muscle. Cremaster muscle is also going to be present in the scrotum. The activity of scrotum or the shape of scrotum is basically decided by two different muscles. The very first is Darto's muscle and the second one is cremaster muscle. If you have seen that at the time of winter, at the time of lower temperature, your testis used to become or your scrotum used to become much tight, and it doesn't it doesn't descends like a pouch. Okay, it becomes much tighter. Okay, it used to ascend up. Okay, it used to ascend like this. For example, like this. It will be tight enough and it will go in the upward direction like this when the temperature is low or at the time of winter. But when the temperature is high or at the time of summer, they will descend properly in the form of pouches and they will become like this. They will descend properly in the form of pouches like this. So this activity of the scrotum is basically regulated by the Darto's muscle and the cremaster muscle. Very, very important from examination's point of view. Right? So this was about the structure of male reproductive system. Now, the penis is the male external genitalia. It means that the external part of the male reproductive system is basically called as the penis. Alright, it is made up of a special tissue that helps in the erection of penis to facilitate the insemination. Insemination means the process by which the sperms are transferred to the female genital tract, and to facilitate that particular process, it becomes very important that the penis should be erectile. Okay, it should become erect, it should become tight so that it could inseminate into the female genital tract, and this could only happen with the help of special erectile tissue that is very, very critical. I hope you remember a picture, a film of Ayushmann Khurrana where he is suffering from the erectile dysfunction. Okay, where his penis is not having that particular special connective tissue that can make his penis erectile. So ultimately he is unable to inseminate, and if he is unable to inseminate, then ultimately he can't give rise to his new generation because the sperms are not getting transferred to the female genital tract. So there is no chance of the fertilization event to occur properly. I think it's Shubh Mangal Saavdhan, if I remember it properly. I have not seen that film, but I have just seen that trailer. So I found that it is based on the erectile dysfunction disorder. So it is a dysfunction if the male is not having properly erectile penis. The enlarged end of the penis is called as glans penis, that we have already talked about, plus the skin fold present over it is called as the foreskin or prepuce, that I have already told you. So if this is the penis, there will be an elongated end, there will be an enlarged bulged end, that will be glans penis, and the fold of skin present over it, it will be called as prepuce or the foreskin. The male accessory gland, I have already told you guys that there are three different names that you need to understand in this particular chapter. The very first is seminal vesicle, the second one is prostate, and the third one is bulbourethral gland. So this include a paired seminal vesicle. If you will talk about the seminal vesicles, they are paired, the bulbourethral glands are paired, but the prostate is only a single gland. Let me tell you where they are present. Alright, so let's take an eraser and let's just erase this up. Alright. So this is the seminal vesicle. This is the seminal vesicle. So these are 2 in number. Now this is the prostate. This is the prostate. This is 1 in number. And these small dots are bulbourethral gland, which are again paired. So these are 2 in number. So secretions of this gland constitute seminal plasma. Okay, the secretions of this gland constitute seminal plasma, which is rich in fructose, calcium, and certain enzyme. The seminal plasma basically contains calcium, which is really important for the mobility of sperms. Then fructose, which gives the energy. So whenever there are some sort of rape victims, a test is done to confirm the rape, that is called as fructose test. Because in a lot of body parts of yours, the main source of energy is glucose, but in that particular part, okay, in the female genital tract where the sperms has basically entered, along with seminal plasma, some fructose is also found, which gives the sperm energy, so that it could swim at a faster rate. So they are rich in fructose, which is the energy source, calcium, which is important for the mobility, and certain enzymes that can also lead to the inactivation of, or basically they can neutralize the pH of female genital tract, and sometimes they also help in the fusion of male and female gamete by lysing the outer boundary of the female gamete. The secretion of bulbourethral glands also help in lubrication of penis. The lubrication of penis is also done with the help of bulbourethral gland secretion, so that it can make a clear way through which the sperms can basically pass from one place to the other place. That is very critical. So seminal vesicle used to form a lot of things where prostaglandins are important. Prostaglandins are usually lipid in nature. Prostaglandins, which are formed up of arachidonic acid. I'll surely gonna tell you about this in biomolecules chapter. So prostaglandins are present in seminal vesicle. Other than that, the fructose is also present over here. When you talk about the prostate gland, then in the secretion of prostate gland, the calcium is present. Along with calcium, the basically some sort of alkaline secretions are present. So the semen is alkaline just because of the presence of alkaline secretions of prostate gland. Other than that, the phosphate is also present over there. So these are some things, and citrate is also present over there. Citric acid, citrate is also present over here. So prostaglandin, fructose, and citrate are present over here. Calcium, phosphate, and alkaline secretion is present over here, so that it can neutralize the acidic environment of the female genital tract, so that the sperms will not get affected. So ultimately the pH of the semen is going to be around 7.1 or 7.2 to 7.7. So if you will take a median, then it will become 7.4 to 7.5. But in most of the books, it is written as 7.2 to 7.7. This is the range of pH of the semen. So it is basically a little bit alkaline. It is slightly alkaline in nature, right? And the bulbourethral gland, as it is already shown over here, that it helps in the lubrication of penis. So these are some additional things that you need to note, and these things are really gonna help you out to qualify your entrance examination. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you really enjoyed this video, then please hit like button and share this video with your friends. Please subscribe our channel so that you never miss an update from NEET UG in English. Okay, let's crack NEET UG in English. You can take Unacademy's Plus subscription by using my code WIPPEN, because my batch has already started. So if you want to enroll in my batch, and if you want to learn the complete syllabi of NEET 2021 and NEET 2022 by me, then you can basically get the subscription from my code, and my batch is already started. Okay, I've just already listed my batch. It is getting started from 21st of September. So you still have 2-3 days to get the subscription. So please use code WIPPEN to get the subscription as soon as possible. You can also search my name in Unacademy's learning app, that is Vipin Kumar Sharma. This name is very important because here you will find all the free videos by me, and you can watch my videos by installing the Unacademy's learning app, or you can just search my name by my user ID, that is Vipin007. Alright, so please like this session, share this video with your friends. Lots of love. I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you so much guys. Bye bye. Take care.